Well, hello and welcome again. I'm John Kuert, the interim pastor at First Assembly in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, and welcome to another Heart to Heart Talk. Thanks for stopping by my office here and allowing me the opportunity to share with you a thought, just a few minutes, that hopefully can be a blessing to you today. We're here each day, and I hope that you'll continue to tune in, whether it's on the YouTube. You just have to dial in John Kuert or type in John Kuert, and you can get it also on the Newcastle First Assembly website, which is ncfirstassembly.org. Anyway, in Israel, the land of Jesus, there's two well-known seas. One of these two great bodies of water is filled with fresh water, fed by the headwaters of the Jordan River at Caesarea Philippi. I was there a few years ago, and it's a beautiful place. And I can understand why Jesus hung out there and did much of his ministry in and around the Sea of Galilee. For the length of its almost 13 miles, fish abound in its waters, both in numbers and in kind. And you know what? I had one of those fish. They call it the St. Peter's fish dinner, right there on the banks of the Sea of Galilee. And it's encircled by pebbled shores and rolling green slopes, trees huddled along its shores, and that sink their roots deep into the refreshment of the water's edge. And the surrounding countryside is a patchwork of teeming cities, valuable farmland. Now, at the southern tip of this sea, the Sea of Galilee, at the Jordan River, having passed through the Sea of Galilee, continues its southerly trek through the land, 70 miles south. After winding like a snake through the countryside, the Jordan empties into another sea. Now, the second sea, Jesus knew, also boasted none of the characteristics of its northern counterpart. It received an average of 6 million tons of water every day from the Jordan River, water that had collected mineral substances from the soil of the area, substances such as chlorides of sodium, magnesium, calcium. There, these substances abide. For unlike the Sea of Galilee to the north, this sea has no outlet. It's known as the Dead Sea. The water there is about 4 times as salty as the ocean. So much so, in fact, a swimmer will find himself buoyed as though he were wearing an inner tube. I know, I tried it. A person can lay on their back and read the newspaper, just floating there on the water like you were sitting in a chair, a lounge chair. But the water is bitter to the taste. It's undrinkable. And in this southern sea, here's the point I want to really get to. In this southern sea, there is barely a trace of life. No fish, not even shellfish or coral are found beneath its surface. The landscape all around is unoccupied, except by the hardiest of creatures. It is desert, it is dry, rocky, it's just wilderness. The dry, burnt look of the shoreline, sometimes overpowering heat of the region, just causes it to have a stench of sulfur because of the apparent lack of life, and around the sea all combined to make it a very appropriate name to call it the Dead Sea, because it is dead. So here are these two seas in Israel. One is the scene of beauty, a center of commerce, whose shores and depths teem with life. The other is quite the opposite. Its shores are barren, the atmosphere is harsh, and its bitter waters cannot sustain life nor quench thirst. What's the difference? The difference is in the giving. You see, the Dead Sea receives fresh water daily from the Jordan River, but keeps it all to itself. There's no outlet. All the rich minerals and sediment of the Jordan Valley that course into the Dead Sea halt their flow within its boundaries. It hoards what it gets and gives none of its riches to the wilderness of Zin or Paran or Edom to the south. The Sea of Galilee, however, sparkles with freshness because it not only receives the water that flows down from the northern mountains, it also gives itself to the winding Jordan River as it flows to the south. Now, here's the point of this all. There's two kinds of people in the world. There are givers and there are takers or keepers. And the givers are much richer and fresher, more sparkling and happier. The person who is always taking and never giving will become stale, unpleasant, and bitter. It's when we are givers that our lives and our relationships with others flourish. You know, the Bible says in Proverbs 11, one man gives freely and yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to him poverty. A generous man will prosper. He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. That's what I want to be like. I want to be a giver. I want to give out of my life. And the blessings that I have received, I want to share with others. That's what I want, not only for myself, for my wife, I want it for my kids. I want my grandkids to be like that. And Lord, if the Lord tarries, the generations beyond, because that is what the Lord really desires us to be. Like him. He is the greatest giver of all. And the Bible says, and I'll end up with this, Luke 6:38, give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. If we give, folks, we will be blessed. You might say, well, I don't have very much to give. That's okay. Just give a little. and I say this in a generic way. Give to your church, but also give to others as the Lord, by his Spirit, impresses you. And you'll be surprised how God will cause it to come back again and again and again. I could give you testimony and upon testimony, my wife and I, how the Lord has opened up his treasures of riches and blessed us over the years as we have learned this important lesson. So be a giver, not just a taker. And the Lord, I remember a great song that Neil Endo wrote when he said, when I give it out the back door, he brings it in the front door. And it's true. You can't outgive God. So there you go. Be a giver today. Have a great week. Lord willing, we will see you tomorrow. And don't forget our prayer meeting Wednesday night at 6:30 at the church. And, of course, Sundays, our morning worship at 10:30. God bless. Have a great night. Bye-bye.